Hello and welcome back to Level Up with Loraine. I am your host, Loraine, and I'm thrilled you could join us today. In this episode, we're diving deep into the journey of entrepreneurship, a path that's filled with challenges, breakthroughs, and valuable life lessons. I'm especially excited because our guest today is someone whose story truly embodies what it means to pursue your dreams with resilience and what I think is an unwavering mindset, right? Our guest, Junior Bakasa, has navigated the highs and the lows of building her own business, overcoming obstacles that most of us can only imagine. She's here to share not only her entrepreneurial journey, but also the mindset shifts and the key lessons that have propelled her forward. So whether you're an inspiring entrepreneur or someone who's never taken a step into the world of entrepreneurship, I guarantee you'll find her insights both inspiring and transformative. Or if you are an avid entrepreneur and you're interested in other people's journeys and in continuous learning, I invite you to sit down, relax, and enjoy this episode. Her story is a real-world blueprint for anyone looking to carve their own path, showing that even in the face of uncertainty, every challenge can become a stepping stone to success. So without further ado, let's welcome Junior Bakasa to the show. Welcome, Junior Bakasa. So, I know Junior from varsity. We've known each other for close to 14 years. And really, she's one of the most successful entrepreneurs, someone who we always knew from an early stage that she would venture into entrepreneurship. So without waffling or wasting time, welcome Junior to the episode. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks, Loraine. I'm good. How are you doing?
All right, thank you. So I'll hand over to you. Please introduce yourself to the people. Who is Junior? What's your background and how and why are you here? Why are you here?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's very exciting and scary at the same time. Because when you get to share your story, it's like the spotlight is on you and it's a bit scary. But anyway, I'll dive into it. So as you have introduced, my name is Junior Bakasa and we've known each other since university. And I did study HR and psychology and then went on to do my master's in marketing strategy and a few certifications in sustainability, climate change, yada, yada, whatnot. But I think even though I did all these things, my heart was just so drawn towards entrepreneurship. It's something that I knew I wanted to do since I was in primary school. I remember one of the ladies I went to primary school with, when I finally started my first company, she laughed at me and said, "You know what, Junior, we thought you were kidding because you used to talk about this every time. When you were in primary school, you'd always say, one day I'm going to own my own company." But to see this actually coming to fruition, like also you have also mentioned that, to say ever since university days, you'd always pick it up that this is where the road I was going to take. So it's a beautiful thing even for me to see myself at this point in time where everything that I've wanted to become manifested in my lifetime. So this is me. This is my journey. And my journey has been so diverse. How I started and where I am today has just been a roller coaster. I started with selling virgin hair.
I remember.
Way back in 2014, and here I am. Now I've got an eco-friendly brand, which is called Leaf and Green. But I'm sure we'll unpick all that as 100%. We go on with our conversation. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited, right? Because I do think you're the best guest for this topic, which is an entrepreneurial mindset, because of exactly what you've said, that you've always known and you've always tried different ventures, and we'll get into that. But I think it's important that people, particularly in Zimbabwe or Southern Africa or in Africa, hear your story, because we know that in the next decade, most of the opportunities for employment are going to come from people who start businesses. They're going to come from people who are entrepreneurial. How we're going to build Africa. So this is so important. Okay, so let's loosen up. I want the listeners to get to know you. So we're going to start with A few rapid fun fireside questions to start. Are you ready?
Let's get it.
For the first one, first out of 5, what is your most prized possession?
I would say my most prized possession is my life. I will be philosophical about everything. Listen, there wouldn't be anything to put a price tag to without the very thing we call life, you know? So every time I try to think deep about this question, it all just comes back to, but your life is the most prized thing you have. Because once you don't have that, then there's nothing else to count on to. So yeah, it has to be my life.
Okay. Look at you being deep. Okay. So the second one. What is the one thing that instantly makes your day better when it happens?
When it happens, Lolo, it has to be a flight ticket to somewhere. It just needs to be a flight ticket somewhere.
I like that. Catching flights, not feelings. Yeah, not feelings. Work hard, play harder. I love that. For me, it really is just coffee. Believe it or not, I'm just that simple. I think we're working with people.
It's so funny for someone who actually says that the most prized thing they have is their life. And then what makes you happy is a flight.
It's flights. And you know there's tons going on with flights, right? Like most accidents, I think this year.
The way I'm so paranoid now about flying. And you know what, believe it or not, I actually had a dream about, you know, the recent accident that just happened in Washington. The day it happened, I had a dream about it. And now I'm so paranoid about
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, no, it's scary. Anyway,
Yeah.
third question, summer or winter, and why?
It has to be winter because summers are just the worst. They're good for traveling. They're good for traveling, but the weather is just terrible. I cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And what is your biggest risk to date? So what's the biggest risk you've ever taken? And I think it's a funny one to ask an entrepreneur, but I thought I would just throw that in there. Because you're taking risks every day, right? As an entrepreneur.
Pretty much. And you know what? I actually feel like, okay, maybe let me make this one more fun. It will not be the biggest because by sharing the biggest, I think I'll just be boring and dive back into entrepreneurship. So I think for me, maybe the biggest was to go parasailing. I'm scared of heights and I'm scared of water. So but I just dived into it, and then before I knew it, I was up there, and it was so beautiful. Yeah.
Where did you do it?
In Kariba.
Oh, lovely.
It was in Kariba, yeah.
No, beautiful. For those who don't know, Kariba is a holiday destination in Zimbabwe. And I will not tell the people that I've never been. We will not talk about that. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. And then the very last one. Who is your biggest inspiration, dead or alive?
So I always used to say Oprah for some reason. But as I've grown older, I've realized that I can't put that on one person because you can draw inspiration from anything and anyone around you. Because every day is it's got its own challenges and its own opportunities, and inspiration can be drawn from different people in different things. So now I think that's just that. I don't have one person that I can pinpoint that to, but I'm in a position to just draw inspiration from things and people that I meet or that I see. If it's inspiring enough, and then I'll draw inspiration from that.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe let's dive into the crux of it, right? Can you share with us your journey, your entrepreneurship journey? So you spoke about, and I know it was called Olive Hair, if I'm not mistaken. You spoke about the hair business and you've diversified. You've done a couple of things lately, and I want you to be able to talk about that. You've won multiple awards. Maybe share that a bit more, maybe just briefly. Your journey, the businesses that you've built to date. Yeah.
Where to start? Okay. So I think my story started way back in 2014. We had just graduated, but I think the challenge I faced was coming back home to no job, you know. And I believe a number of people also face that challenge where you'd look for a job, but it was just so hard to get a job. And I think I'm so grateful because then I got a very supportive family. Around that time, my father gave me a book, which is one of the best books I've ever read in my life, which was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it was such an eye-opener for me. And I think it made me realize that I could be anything, that I could try anything out. And up until maybe I was 40, I still had time to play around or just experiment with different things until I found what really it is that I was looking for. And so my first business began in 2014. I had an opportunity to go to India, and then I sourced like original virgin hair, and I started selling it. Then I went to China, I went to Dubai to build my own brand, which was called Olive Virgin Hair. I had a big dream, Loraine, because I remember back then I would visit these hair factories. I knew how to create a brand way then, but it's very unfortunate that as much I did try to create it, and then I shared my idea with someone else, and that person ran with the idea, and they messed it up in the market before I had the opportunity to really roll it out. So I'll share my story in phases, because I believe with every step that I've taken, there've been lessons there, and that other people can also try and avoid, So I think what I learned from that lesson was to say, if you have an idea, it's not everyone that should know what you're up to. Because other people might have even a better financial muscle than you and might be able to roll it out faster before you do. Either that business idea will take off or it will flop, which will actually be an issue for you to then take on the market. But I must say, when I started that business, it was great. The clientele was beautiful. I opened a shop back then. It did well until, again, another failure. Someone stole my money, the business money again. And so the idea was stolen, the money was stolen. And I said to myself, you know what, we need to go back to the drawing board. But it didn't kill my love for hair, because I genuinely believe what I learned back then is still something I can apply to this day. And I'll speak about that later on. Yeah.
Okay. And after Olive Virgin Hair, alongside Olive Virgin Hair, you've also built strong brands and businesses. Quasar, Lily, Wave, detergent businesses, which have all gone to win 8+ awards, including raising funding, etc. Can you tell us about that initiative? And it happened, I think, just before around COVID, and really it looks like you scaled. From what I know, you scaled and did even better during COVID, right? Where a lot of people were actually struggling. So what is it what inspired the detergents business? Did you have foresight to know that, it would be successful? Like, what drove you to it, and what sustained you?
So that story started at 16 when I had an opportunity to work in Zambia for it was a company that was an advertising agency, where I was an account manager for 2 big brands that Unilever had. Well, they still have those brands. So I think being at the center of the marketing campaign really opened my eyes to the opportunities that are there when you build a strong brand. Right. Because I think at the end of it all, even if you've got a beautiful brand, but as long as you cannot market it to people, it cannot take off. So I think I started learning about the marketing aspect of it. And then I thought to myself, you know what, I can actually build a brand for myself as well in my home country. And I could address some of the challenges that my community was having. So I was now growing as a person, and I was now beginning to see the challenges and opportunities that were there in my community. And this is where I wanted to position myself. And so I started learning about making detergents. It was not through university or anything, but I genuinely believe that if you're passionate about something, you can always find ways. You can teach yourself, you can get people to teach you. And the first product I made, I remember, was a detergent paste, which compared to there was only one other brand in the market that was doing that detergent paste, and it did so well. And I remember being at the forefront of the brand and going and knocking on people's houses to show them, this is how my soap works, this is what it can do, and people loved the soap. And then I also ventured into a scouring powder and different product lines that had to do with cleaning detergents. I was very lucky because when I started, I then joined a program that trained on that trained people in entrepreneurship, and it was a competition. I managed to win that. I got funding. It boosted my business. And from there, I think things just started escalating, the brand was growing. We're distributing mostly in the informal markets, because one other thing as well that I learned early was that if you're a small business and you are still a startup, there's no need to try and be in the main retail shops because of their maybe payment methods. It would have been very hard for me to then get that money back and then reinvest it in the business. So the informal market back then worked so well for me because you'd always get your cash payments, and it really boosted the business. When COVID then hit, so we started in 2017, and when COVID hit, it was 2020. And by fate, we had just shipped in liters and liters and liters of a chemical that then became quite pivotal in the fight against COVID. So when COVID then hit, we had so much stock that then allowed our business to expand into a service. And we ended up offering a disinfecting service. We're now manufacturing sanitizers, and we just rallied on the front lines, which really changed our business. And it even led us to winning the UNDP award, and that also came with funding. So for me as an entrepreneur, that was quite a very fascinating time, because I got into a space that I was scared of. I remember when COVID started, I was so scared, Loraine. I didn't even, my parents would go out of the house and I would be hiding in there, and I would shout at them for coming back home, especially after people were supposed to be on lockdown. But as fate would have it, I ended up being on the forefront of it. And, I think it took tenacity, it took boldness from me to be able to be in that line of business. And it really changed our business. It really boosted our business.
So I want you to stop there. I mean, we will close with your latest sort of venture, but one key lesson here, and I think the listeners, those who are really paying attention, caught it. One has to be solving a real challenge, right? You need to be able to identify a gap and close a real challenge. And I think there's something to be said about your ability to spot opportunities and be able to turn them into a business opportunity, right? So do you think anyone can do entrepreneurship, Jay? I mean, honestly, and I think I've said this to you, I grew up with two parents who woke up and were employed. They went to work at 8, they came back at 5 or 6 p.m., right? And obviously that's what sort of shaped me. And I found myself being an employee as well. I've tried to dabble into entrepreneurship and but honestly, is the question, I guess, is this something anyone can do? Are you born with it? Are people born with a natural knack for it? Is it a skill that you can actually develop? Right. What are your thoughts?
I think it all depends, Loraine. It all depends. For me, I believe I was born with it, to be honest with you. I never imagined myself as an employee, not once. So I'll be lying if I say it's something that I learned along the way. Even now, if I was to be offered a good paying job, I wouldn't take it. Because there's a freedom that comes with being my own boss that no one can take away from me, right? And then there are also other people, even if they were offered a good company to run as theirs, they wouldn't take it. Because they just love being employees and they excel in that. So as much as it can be taught, I think it all depends with the person. Are they willing to do that, or they're not willing to do that? And it also depends with your environment. Other people may not be willing to do it, but if your environment pushes you to that, I believe it's something that you can learn as well. So it's inborn, and your environment can also teach you that. I also spoke about how supportive my environment has been, especially my parents. They didn't shout at me for wanting to venture into all these things, right? But they would look at it and say, okay, you can go on and do what you're doing, and they support me. And that is also very important, because at times you might want to learn about doing business, but if your environment is not supportive enough, that can also hinder your progress or your success in that area. So it's.
So definitely nature and nurture. And I guess,
Exactly.
having the appetite for risk. So whilst you're on that, what do you believe makes a solid entrepreneur? From all the lessons learned, you've been burnt, you've won, you've been burnt again, you've won, you've failed forward. What would you say are the key traits for a solid entrepreneur?
I've been burnt. I've been burnt.
Oh, I know.
I laugh about it because I think it's one of the most beautiful about being in business.
Yeah.
When we have these conversations, at times it will look as if, oh my God, everything is flowing. She's on top of the game. But I'll also, before I get to answer what you asked, I'll also just want to say, you know what? It's not an easy road. At times you're going to find success, like when we talk about the accolades I've gotten, we say, you know what, she's gotten up to 8 awards, including to a point of getting funding from UNDP, from different organizations the world over, right? But we fail to talk about the pains that come with running a business, how you can trust people and they can disappear with your money, which really messes your cash flows. You can trust your employees, but if your systems are not right, those can also be where your leakages come from, and that will set you apart. I remember reading a book by Kuda, the one that it's written, the book says Kudimira Makudo. You can work for other people and other people will be stealing from you, even the employees that you have. You can also just even get mental fatigue. At times you feel like, oh my word, do I need to keep going? I feel like I'm pouring, and nothing is giving, So it's a journey that has got its ups and downs, but you need to be versatile enough. You need to be resilient. You need to be, to watch where the wave is going. What can you do in those moments? And I think for me, that's also why I've had many different businesses. At times, these businesses have coexisted because you bounce back from the other business. If one business is not doing well, the other business will sustain you. And eventually all the businesses will be on the same level because they'll be helping each other along the way. So to answer you, one of the things that I would say is you need to have a growth mindset. Setbacks are going to be there, but so are opportunities, and you really need to overcome fear, because once you have been burnt, you might even have the fear of starting again. Because you think, oh my word, what has happened to me? What if it happens again? What if I invest in this and I meet a bad person or I make a bad investment? What would this mean for my cash flow? What would this mean for my finances? And you find that with most entrepreneurs, they are mainly, it's not every day you get funding. At times you're bootstrapping. At times you have to fund yourself, and you look at it and say, if I put all my money in this and then it doesn't fly, then what? So you need to overcome that fear. You always need to be able to take calculated risk, and not just all risk is good, but it has to be calculated, because you will get burnt and you will hate being in business. Yeah.
Wow. And there's so much here, right? Tenacity, resilience, versatility. My favorite is the ability to pivot, right? So not being married to an idea, but being able to read your environment and quickly pivot to, okay, now I need to do this if I'm going to survive.
Exactly. I think that's one of the things I'm very good at, pivoting.
Yeah. No, 100%. Because once we talk about your latest venture, I mean, I can't wait to get to it. Really, for me, that is you always, advancing yourself, getting better. And I guess that's the next question, right? Like, what has it cost you to be where you are today? Right? In terms of money, resources, time, relationships, investments in yourself. Like, what has it taken for you to be who you are and for your brands to be as successful as they are?
Just yesterday, I was thinking about it, is the Canton Fair that's happening in China. It happens every year in April and in October. I remember the first time I visited the Canton Fair was in 2014, 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. This year will be the 11th year. So I looked back at my journey and I said, look, this has taken me almost 10 years to get me where I am. Because from that first trade show I went to, it really opened my mind to the possibilities of what can be. what we can do as Africans, whether you're a man or you're female, but the possibilities that are out there are beyond.
Yeah.
And it has taken a lot of sweat. It has taken a lot of dedication. It has taken a lot of tears. It has taken a lot of depression. It has taken a lot of sleepless nights and discipline as well. Just being able to know that I need to do A, B, C, and D by this time without even reporting to someone.
Yeah.
You have to be accountable, because you cannot have a story worth sharing if you're not a person who's accountable to yourself, and you're not resilient, and you are not, you don't have a growth mindset like what I mentioned. And you also have to have a cognitive bias towards yourself. You need to have that overconfidence, and otherwise, if you don't,
certain madness to be
it's certain madness.
I always say that you have to really believe in yourself, right? Because if you don't, you won't make it. You have to have this a serious belief in yourself.
You need to, yeah. Because a lot of people also along the way may look at you. There's a quotation that I always used to encourage myself with, and that's, no one looked like an idiot until it started to rain. So that is what it is when you're building a business. You will look like an idiot until it starts to rain when you're building, because you've got ideas in your mind that people are yet to see. Yeah. But with time, people eventually, they get to understand where you're coming from and where you're going. So you need to have a certain level of being crazy, of being so bold and going out there no matter what. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how smart you are, but it's about how bold you are. Are you bold enough to take it on and see the fruits of what you want to do? So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. One of my favorite motivational speakers, the name is Thierry Savelle Foy, always says you can't have $1 million dream with minimum wage habits.
Come on.
That touched me, by the way.
Yeah. I'm actually writing that down. That's deep.
You can't have $1 million dream with minimum wage habits. What are some of the habits you had to change? You already touched on some. You had to be disciplined because no one's going to wake you up. You needed to be consistent. There's certain things that just need to happen if you're going to roll this out and be successful. What other habits did you actually have to either change or employ to be successful?
Some of the habits, I've got them I figured some of the habits, but for some, I'm really still struggling with procrastinating.
So I think we spoke about some of the mistakes, right? That people make when they're building businesses. You touched on a few things. What are some of the glaring, like what you've seen in your industry or with, fellow entrepreneurs, with yourself? What are some of the mistakes that people make either in the beginning or during the journey?
Okay. Number one, that is not having the right systems in place. If you go on a journey and everything is not in place, you are bound to have leakages within your business, either from your employees or from your suppliers or what. You will have leakages, and you need to make sure that everything is in check. Number two, some of the mistakes that I've seen are people who get into business because everyone is doing it. And they think, okay, I can just do it because everyone else is doing it. And they put so much money in it, but after a few months, their businesses are shutting down because they went in there because of the hype, not because they were really passionate about solving a problem or improving the lives of people. Because I genuinely believe your business should focus on the impact you're going to make. If you're in it for the money, at times, of course, some people will make it big. But if you are narrow-minded, you might not make it in the long run. Because as long as you are solving a problem, there will always be that problem might always be there to solve. So at times people get in it for the money and it doesn't pay off. And that's a mistake that people make. Other mistakes that also people make are copying someone's business without really having the passion for it. So you can copy someone's business, but you can never fully execute it the right way.
Preach it.
Yeah. So I believe this is the challenge that most people make. They put so much money in the business, but then it doesn't give them the fruits that they're expecting because they just know the business, but they don't have the vision and passion for that. So it fails. And another challenge that I've also seen is, just people not having the drive to continue and soldier on, because it takes a lot to be in business for 10 years to keep reinventing yourself and stuff like that. So Yeah.
Wow. All right. No, that's so helpful. That's so informative, Jay. And thank you for being so thorough and for being vulnerable enough to share all of that. I want to talk about the investments that like how you've invested in yourself. So we spoke about pivoting and going from hair to detergents to now your latest venture, which I do want you to now maybe talk about, and introduce. It's called Leaf and Green. So as you have pivoted, you've had to invest in yourself, right? To
Yeah.
learn, to upskill, etc. Talk to us about that and the importance thereof, whilst also maybe adding color to this new venture.
Okay. So because my mind is always buzzing with ideas,
Yeah.
I'm also a person who gets bored easily. So I can be doing something and I can see that it has taken off or it's taking off. My mind is so colorful to a point where I need to do the next big thing. I feel like there's so many problems, so many challenges that need to be addressed. So this has allowed me to pivot a lot in my business. And by pivoting, it does not necessarily mean that I'm doing away with that, with what I would have been doing, but it just means I'm sharpening what I was doing and doing and making it better. So of late, I've really invested in myself. I'm such a sustainability lover. I read a lot. I've taken time to invest in myself from an education perspective and also reading a lot on what are the trends, what's happening. Because I believe if you're in business, you really need to be an avid reader. You need to see where's the wind blowing? What are the trends? And what can you do to remain in business? Because if you fail to change at the right time, if you miss the gap to change, then you will not be relevant in the next few years to come. So for me, this is where we are now as a brand. The company is still the same, but we've just launched a new brand, which is called Leaf and Green. So what Leaf and Green is, it's an eco-friendly brand that is looking at, we are reimagining home essentials and hotel amenities because the world right now is in a space where people need to be sustainable. We need to be kind to the environment. And I looked at the way we're doing business prior. We realized that we were leaving a lot of litter. When people use our products, we didn't have quite a comprehensive system where maybe people would use our products and then we collect the plastic bottles and recycle them. We didn't have that. So our journey really started when doing our detergents, and we made hygiene banks in low income communities. What this really did was to address that problem, to say, once you use our products, you don't need to throw away the containers. You can come back to our shop and then we can refill your product, right, at a lower cost.
Yeah.
So we did a pilot run of this, and it was a great initiative. But then we also realized that we needed to do it at a larger scale and change and incorporate, maybe redesign the whole the whole system, redesign everything that we're doing. So we started with our hand wash soap, where instead of just pushing it out as liquid, we then said, let's redesign it. We are now pushing out our hand wash in tablet form. So our hand wash comes as a concentrated tablet, which you simply drop in water. You fill the water, and then you just drop the tablet in. And then after 40 minutes, you've got your hand forming soap. What we have done here is that we have minimized our packaging. In the sense that in one box, you get to refill your hand forming soap 5 times. So instead of buying 5 plastic bottles, you just get one that you keep refilling. Once the 5 refills that come with the box are done, you buy another pack of refills that we also supply. So this is how we are reimagining some of the products that we have. And all our packaging now, we have moved from purely plastic to craft boxes. So for now, the 5 products that we have launched, we have got that hand forming soap I was telling you about. We also have laundry detergent sheet, which is pre-measured soap that it doesn't come in plastic containers, but in craft boxes. And we also have bamboo toothbrushes, bamboo cotton buds, and compressed end towels. So these products really, we will really pick them carefully because they are also very important. They are one of the big polluters. People use cotton buds just once in a while, but that plastic cotton bud, it will take almost 500 years for it to degrade. You look at the toothbrushes that people use. How many people use toothbrushes every day? So
Yeah.
we are starting with the small things as we build our portfolio.
Yeah.
So we are starting with the small things, the small changes, and we are just not doing no more toothbrushes. Our toothbrushes are also addressing people with sensitive bleeding gums. Right.
Mm.
And so far, when we launched our products, people love our products. We launched in December and it was so successful. It's exciting to see what the coming months have in store for us.
Mm.
And we are also doing hotel amenities where all the hotel supplies that we are supplying are bamboo based,
Yeah.
and they all come in craft packaging. And they're
Yeah.
all eco-friendly, which is a gap that is in the market that we're addressing. So it's not that we have really gone away from what we've been doing, but we've just expanded our product range and made it really eco-friendly and to not stick to the habits that we had prior that were not good for the environment.
Got it. No, I
Yeah.
mean, there's passion and true passion, right? That I'm hearing about the product, about the planet, and about the community that you're serving, because it makes no sense to be able to provide and close the gap we spoke about whilst causing, future harm to the same environment they need to live in. And, sustainability is no longer just a buzzword.
Yeah.
It's a pillar for business success, right?
Yeah.
And just the ability to integrate sustainable practice contributes to not just the healthier planet, like I said, but a stronger, resilient business and brand reputation, because people know that they can actually trust your brand.
Yeah.
You've really thought, and put a lot of effort in making sure that you drive innovation, you meet the need, but also you remain sustainable. Thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable and being authentic. I've really enjoyed talking to you. And I think these have been very useful nuggets, right? For the ordinary person like myself, who's always wondering, can I do this? How do I do it? Where do I start? Etc. So an important question, I guess, and very important point, really, right? Because we don't live in a vacuum. Everything we do, we need community, we need relationships. What has been the role of, communities or tapping into a community? Who have been some of the people that have helped you on this journey? And maybe you can talk us through that: networking, building a community, relying on other people. What's Junior's story around that?
Yeah. Thank you for that. I genuinely believe that you cannot go it alone. You
Mm.
cannot build a sustainable business without other people helping you and without other people being your pillar. You can have an
Mm.
idea, yes, but it takes a community as well to make sure that you reach your destination. I've been so lucky in terms of the people that have mentored me to get to where I am. People that have been in the same industry as I am. They've really helped a lot. People who are actually in other industries altogether, but they've
Yeah.
come through and said, you know what, we think you've got something going on. We believe in what you're doing. And they give you the support. They point you to programs, fellowships, whatnot, that really help you grow. And I would also even, just joining different fellowships, different business programs really did help, because as much as I would read or maybe learn as I was doing, the fellowships really did help me as well. And
Mm.
having my family as my support system, like I've mentioned, I would not have done it without them. Just
Yeah.
been for them to just keep pushing me, and friends as well. It's a good thing. Even the fact that you are my friend and you are doing this interview, it also speaks
Yeah.
a lot into my life, because if your friends as well are not supporting what you're doing, at times
Mm.
it can kill your self-esteem and you're thinking, maybe I'm going in the wrong direction. Everyone is
Mhm.
going this direction. Maybe I'm in the wrong direction altogether. But if you get just that nod from your friends and your community, it really means a lot. It gives you a boost to keep going.
Mm.
And another shout out, and one person I'd also just like to mention is my friend Cynthia. She's been
Mm.
in business for a very long time. She's built a very successful business,
Mm.
and learning from her and how she has done business, how she's been resilient, how she has, soldiered on, has been so beautiful for me,
Yeah.
because then she also speaks into my life. She also encourages me to keep going and to build a strong business, because she herself has built a very strong business and a very strong brand around that. So it's been beautiful. And also just having a supportive husband. If you can run a business, but if if your partner is not supportive, then you might face challenges. Because like I mentioned, my business, mainly I started it before I got married, and then I got married whilst I was already running a business. So if I married someone who didn't believe in my vision, who thought maybe what I was doing was wasting time, I would not have launched a new brand. But because of that support as well, everything just works together. So
Aww,
you
love
have a very
that.
supportive system around you. It really
I
goes a
love
long
that.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, entrepreneurship is not a solo journey.
No,
Life
it's
is not a
not.
solo
Yeah.
journey. It thrives on collaboration, shared experiences, and the power of a connected community. Thank you. Thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much. What's next for you? Like when you think about everything that you've built and your long-term goals, what's next for Junior?
Funny enough, I was thinking about this yesterday. I remember when I was trying to tell you about the Canton Fair, and I said to myself, I believe this year is the year that everything comes full circle for me. Over the past years, I've been building different businesses, and at times they may seem as if I stopped them, but I believe for the future for me is a whole holistic future where everything that I've invested in, I really want to see it now really take off. Because I believe some of these businesses and projects have been on the runway, but now it's really time for them to really take off, and all the groundwork and everything has been done. I've got nothing to prove to anyone anymore, because I feel also that when you're starting out with business, you want to prove to people. It's a very childish mindset that people have when they start businesses, But as you grow older, you grow into your business, you grow into who you are, and you understand the reason, the purpose that is driving you to build what you have built. So I've done so many projects that I believe this year and the future, and as we go forward, is the year that everything that just comes full circle. And some of the businesses that I might have dropped, I really want to bring them back because they were businesses that were really close to my heart, especially the hair business. Just as a side business, because it was my first love, and I've also grown. And the funny thing also that I wanted to mention was along the way, I also did a festival that was called Mitambo Festival. It was so far off from everything else. Yes, it was so far off from everything else that I was doing. And I think people just looked at me and thought, this girl must be crazy, because it was a celebration of indigenous games that we played as Africans, as Zimbabweans, do your pada, your whatnot. And that business actually pivoted into doing trainings for corporates when it comes to their team building.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's something that when I started doing it, I never thought it would get to that. It's funny. So like what I was saying, the future, that what it has, just everything that I've started, everything that I've done, is just maybe this year and the years onwards. It's for everything to just come full circle. And the future is exciting. We're giving back to the planet as well, because as part of our CSR, with Leaf and Green, is to plant trees. Some of us is that we get from our products. We're going to be planting trees and giving back to the environment. So it's really exciting. I can't wait.
Very exciting. I mean, your journey is just so encouraging, Jay. And I think this is just the beginning. The only way is up. And I'm excited to just see where you go. Do you have any closing remarks for our listeners? And maybe with that, you can recommend a book or podcast or any self-development material that can help them in this journey. So any closing remarks?
What I would just say is it'll be good if you're not an avid reader, if you can't read throughout the whole book in one sitting, maybe download the apps that like blinks in 15 minutes. You can go through a whole book in 15 minutes and get personal development books to read on. And I'm sure most people really love these personal development books, but if not, some starters that have worked for me. It's the 5 a.m. Club, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and my favorite, Who Moved That Cheese. I promise you that changed my life, because I was stuck, and we can go on discussing the characters, but it was so beautiful.
On another episode, and we talk about just that book. Who knows?
That would be so awesome. That would be so awesome.
That would be. Well, I mean, thank you so much for joining us today on Level Up with Loraine. I want to extend a huge thank you to Junior Bakasa, my friend Jay, for sharing such valuable insights from her entrepreneurship journey, her stories of resilience, innovation, and even the setbacks that truly highlighted that entrepreneurship is not just about the highs, it's about the growth that we experience along the way. So I hope today's conversation inspires all of you listening to take risks, embrace challenges, and view every obstacle as a stepping stone towards success. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share. Join us next time as we continue exploring the real stories behind entrepreneurship, lifestyle, personal growth, and travel. Until then, continue to level up.